Role Campaign 3 is, well, on a roll. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. In today's video, we're going to be going over, breaking down, and reviewing everything that happened on Critical Role Campaign 3, episode 52, where our cast deal with the fallout of the insane, ruinous Apogee Solstice arc as our party has now become split. And wouldn't you know it, we got ourselves a couple of guest characters as Christian Navarro and Abria Iyengar join us on Critical Role. As always, if you enjoyed the video, learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let's just get right into the madness, shall we? So where we last left off, our party had attempted to stop the grand ruinous arc, the grand plans from Ludinus Delath, as well as his many cohorts from across Exandria to potentially release this god-eating, god-killing entity named Predathos that is apparently trapped, imprisoned in the red moon of Ruidus. Now, where we last left off, it seemed that our party had potentially done enough to partially delay this grand solstice event, as Ludinus had done some advanced, apparently, time travel magic, speeding up time to the actual Apogee Solstice itself, trying to basically speed up the timeline to accomplish his crazy, evil, big baddie goals. At the moment, we aren't exactly sure to what level Ludinus was successful, as our party, in a big flash of white, were suddenly divided. Now we find ourselves with Chetney, Imogen, FCG, and Fern all together, divided from the rest of our party, as they find themselves halfway across Exandria in the continent of Wildmount, near Chetney's former home, the city of Uthadern. Our episode begins, our party are unable to contact the other members of the group, or really anyone. Apparently something with the Apogee Solstice is preventing the use of message magic. Now, this can be explained through the story, but it's also something that I think Matt is doing here to try to really isolate this group. There's this sense of isolation and desperation from the fact that they can't contact the other members of the group. We have to also remember that our party has been somewhat kind of cliquey. There are certain characters that seem to get along rather well with one another. For example, we have Laura's character Imogen and Marissa's character Laudna. They are basically inseparable, but now they are forced to be separated, to live apart. Same with FCG and Taliesin character Ashton. And several of these characters are very, very linked. They're very close with one another, but now they are forced to basically make new bonds with new members of the party and try to function without one another. Really just a very interesting, awesome move by Matt, and I really like that he made it to where the party couldn't contact any of the others. Our group continued to explore the outer frozen wasteland outside of Uthadern until they are attacked by a big giant lizard, a big giant frost-breathing lizard. This combat immediately starts off on the wrong foot, as all of our party members, our 4 party members, take some massive damage, but they are eventually saved by 2 unknown characters, which are revealed to be 2 guest characters, played by the amazing Abria Iyengar and the actor Christian Navarro. Christian Navarro's character being a very interesting, androgynous Aormaton that we learned is named Frida, which stands for Free Range Integrated Defense Aormaton. Very, very cool, but we're going to get more into that later. After the combat is over, the groups talk to one another, and we get to learn some very interesting information. It seems that Chetney and Deanna, Abria's character, actually know one another, and that at one point, well, a long time ago in the past, hundreds of years ago, they actually had a bit of a fling. Abria's character, Deanna, is very, very interesting here. Apparently, at some point after Chetney and her broke up, she was killed after starting a new family. Apparently, Deanna remained dead for over 200 years until her husband at the time managed to find a worshiper of the Dawnfather, possibly a priest, who brought her back to life. I think this is one of the first times in Critical Role we've had a character be dead for this extended period of time and then brought back to life, as this generally is considered one of the harder resurrection rituals to do, as the longer the body goes into decay, the harder the resurrection magic is, especially in Matt Mercer's world. So this is very, very interesting. Our group continued to get to know one another, the 2 discussing, obviously, FCG being an Aormaton, getting along quite well with Frida as an Aormaton, as it's very interesting as D, the Aormaton, Devexian, awoke both of them. Lots of weird Aor stuff going on here. We still don't know exactly how Aor, D, link into everything that's going on with Ruidus and the Apogee Solstice. They could be something completely different, but we know that Aeor was linked with the Calamity, with the God-killing device, and everything. We know that the Malleus Keys themselves and that Ludinus is using Aeor tech. So to me, I really do think that there is some kind of link here between what D is doing with the Aeormatons, awaking all the Aeormatons, and potentially something that's going on here with Predathos, but I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see. Later, Imogen decides to go dream diving as she thinks that maybe she can return to the Malleus Key and potentially see what's going on with her friends. FCG and Fern accompany her into the dream. Imogen flies down into this crater where the Malleus Key was. She sees a beam of light emanating from the Malleus Key up, penetrating into the moon. It seems that the moon, the red moon of Ruidus, has been tethered to this Malleus Key. The lattice-like structure that is the divine gate surrounding Predathos apparently has a slight break where the beam breaks into it. So it seems then that Predathos at the moment is not free. The plan of Ludinus at the moment has not come into fruition, at least we think. Circling around the Malleus Key is this strange red storm. Imogen looks into the storm as she feels compelled, being drawn into it, and she sees figures below, but they are not human. They seem to be these Rhylara, these strange red dust-like figures that we know are linked with Ruidus and are somehow linked with Ruidus-born people, almost as if when a person is born under the led right of Ruidus, somehow they are then linked with this Rhylara, almost like the Rhylara kind of embodies the person, thus making them Ruidus-born. But I think that's just a theory. Things start to go crazy in Imogen's dream as she is being sucked into the Malleus Key, but thank goodness Fern manages to wake her up in time. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Chetney has gone full wolf as the white moon of Katha has risen. He has taken off into the forest, doing wolfy things when Frida goes to check on him, which was a rather bold move, Cotton. Frida is now face to face with a bloodthirsty werewolf Chet. She attempts to calm them down, semi-working. Chetney, though, in his werewolf form, continues to go on the offenses as he is a bloodthirsty predator. Eventually, though, he breaks out of it, snaps out of it, hearing the voices of his friends as he runs off deeper into the night. The episode ends as Frida rolls a con save, rolling a 10, and Matt ends the episode. Potentially, this was possibly for lycanthropy, even though I don't know how an Aeormaton could possibly contract lycanthropy. But hey man, I'm here for some crazy robot wolf-like creature. And yes, that was it for everything that happened in Critical Role Campaign 3 episode 52. We were actually right with our prediction that we would get guest characters. This was kind of an obvious prediction, but hey, I'm still going to take credit always for getting predictions right, as it really did feel like they were going to split the party here, add some guest characters, as we haven't had guest characters in months. And yeah, basically after a series of episodes where we see each different split parties POV, somehow they are going to be reconnected with one another to deal with whatever is going on, the fallout of this Apogee Solstice, methinks. There's still so many more questions we have about Predathos, about Ludinus, about the nature of the gods. The nature of the gods was kind of a point of question here that was brought up on this episode. Abria's character being very anti-god. It's very interesting because she has an interesting perspective, having been dead for 200 years. Abria's character describes her relation with the gods, the people's relationship with the gods isn't like a parent-child relationship. According to Abria's character, people are more like a power source for the god, which we know in the D&D world, especially the world of Exandria, is true in some way. The mortals' devotion, their worship of the gods, gives them power. We know this because we've seen the rise of gods, of godlike figures, and the gaining of divine magic, divinity-esque power through worship. This belief gives power to the gods. So in many aspects, Abria's character is not exactly wrong, even though it is obviously very skewed, as we've seen that the gods do have some kind of compassion, at least some of them do, for their creation, for the mortals on Exandria. But I do find this entire point interesting, and Abria, in many ways, her character is not wrong. This is inherently a relationship that the gods and the mortals have, where the mortals provide the gods power through their belief in them, and then the gods, in some kind of way, share their power back with very certain mortals in the form of clerics, paladins, what have you. I gotta say, though, that this sparked an absolute clusterfuck in Twitch chat. Now, if you've watched Critical Role long enough, you should probably know that it's better to just watch the show without Twitch chat on, as people just get upset over the strangest of things, especially in the RP, tabletop RP space. No one's ever going to be happy. People are always going to complain, which is fine, but man, were the complaining in this episode wild. Abria's character's thoughts about the gods basically turned into an atheist versus religious person debate in Twitch chat. I shit you not, there were people who were actually losing their minds, saying things like it feels like the cast atheist views, their anti-religious views, are affecting their characters' views. Something that I think is absolutely hilarious, because from the start we've seen that these group of characters, our party here, aren't the most religious bunch, are they? Especially when you look at the context of the gods in the Calamity, which we saw in Exandria Unlimited Calamity, and we have to remember that this story, the story of Campaign 3, is linked to EXU Calamity, as well as to all of the other campaigns in a kind of broad sense. It makes sense, the story that they're trying to tell here. We don't know what direction Matt is going to take with the gods, what exactly their motives are. While naturally with D&D lore, we ascribe all of these positive traits to the good gods, as we view them as good gods, this is inherently not necessarily the case in the Critical Role universe. One of the most interesting quotes from the episode, I believe, was from Frida, Christian's character, and they said, "Gods are like automatons, but we as people power them." And we know that this is true. The gods of Exandria are labeled gods, but we know that they are beings from another world that came to Exandria. They aren't necessarily, at least to my knowledge, divinity. They just happen to be higher beings of power, beings from another world that have greater magical, somehow, power. Their divine nature only comes from the fact that people worshipped them, that they created people, and then these people then, in fact, worshipped them. It's very interesting watching this chat get so upset, because it's almost like they're comparing the nature of the gods in Exandria to like the nature of gods in religion in our world, but inherently they aren't the same. I'm not trying to get into a crazy religious debate here. That's not the point I'm trying to make here. I just think it's funny. It feels like a bunch of people who have feelings, either anti-religious or anti-religious, people who are anti-atheist versus people who are anti-religious. It just feels like these people are just using this whole story as an excuse to fight their strange little religious battle, when there just seems like they're reading way too much into everything that's going on our screen here. But this is really par for the course in the RP space. If you've been in the RP space on Twitch long enough, whether you watch D&D campaigns, other tabletop campaigns, or you watch RP servers like GTA RP, the biggest blemish, I think, on the roleplay community as a whole is people's over-investment in the story. They can't just take the story as it is for face value. They always have to get over invested and bring their real human emotions into it. And frankly, I just find it wild. This was some of the craziest pushback I have seen in Critical Role Twitch chat in a long time, and definitely some of the weirdest. Overall, I had a lot of fun with tonight's episode. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in the future of Critical Role. It's going to be crazy. Matt continues to leave us in the dark with what exactly is happening with this crazy ruinous arc, but I'm on the edge of my seats, and now we gotta wait 2 more weeks until we get a new episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What did you think of last night's episode of Critical Role, guys? Expect more Critical Role content in the future. If you enjoyed this video, why don't you go check out some of our other Critical Role content, like our full review and breakdown of the Legend of Vox Machina Season 2, or possibly our video reacting to the insanity that was last week's episode of Critical Role. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace of Adu.
Story that might be, we wasn't supposed to happen. So much talk around us, we became numb to the yapping. It was like 05, got my license to drive. Picture